Okay, so going to pick this video up where it dropped off last time, and we were creating tags to go to the gain of the uh, monitor sense. So we've created all the tags and we've connected them up here. You all can do that. I'll give you a couple of seconds to get that kind of done. And as you know, we are going to be um, using these custom controls. If I property them, you can see within these ranges. So what that's going to end up doing, if I show you the gain over here and the gain here, you'll see that when I emulate, this custom control here can go from 3 dB down to -6. Right, but if you'll notice, that's just shifted at a tiny range on the original gain that we had available to us. So we've now created a safe limit where we can back it off or boost it just enough to be effective and be useful, but not enough to cause any sort of real problem in the system. We've attached that to every monitor system that we have, which is lovely. We've done rather a good job of that. So that's nice. There's a couple of other custom controls that I would like to introduce while we're here doing custom controls, because we might as well concentrate that knowledge into one section. So we also had another couple of problematic. We've taken care of the monitor gain, that's great. But we also had a problem with sub gain, didn't we? We did indeed. So we actually need to introduce, I'll get out of emulation. I need another gain. And this gain is actually going to operate around the sub area. So, and it's going to be for the sub program. So it needs to be stereo, which is fabulous. So I'm just going to put that here for the moment. Again, I also want to attach a gain control knob there, and I'm going to actually, believe it or not, copy this custom control again, which will now have a broken tag on it because I have two custom controls for the same control destination. So that will be a broken connection. That's fine because I want this to actually be sub level instead. Sub level, we'll call it. And I can attach that up here. Sub level. And the input to this can be low left. And this can be low right. And I actually already have some tags run up here because the video ran out before. Low gain left, low gain right. Okay, so now back to this. So this is good. So now, if you'll notice, the low has ended up in this stereo gain to this low gain output, which is where we've hit the peak limiter, which goes to our sub feed. So this is now in the path of the low peak limiter, if you like. We can put that there. We could connect those two up. They would be together, but they're not. So that's good. And this custom control, once again, is a level knob with a gradient of +3 to -6. So we've done the same thing that we did to our fallback control to our sub control. This is fantastic. This is exactly what we want to have. All right, now the other problems that we had, if you remember, were the delay was ridiculous. We couldn't get it to do what we wanted it to do. We couldn't set a useful delay, and we had too much delay available to us. So we want to limit the range of that if we can. There is a way to do that, again with a custom control, but I want to create a new custom control because this is a slightly different type of custom control. Grab that out of here. And I'm going to just put this up here for the moment because it's going to do the standard delay. We'll reorganize these a little later. So again, it isn't a type, so it's not doing anything yet. I actually want this to be a different type of knob than we used before. I want this to be a time knob in seconds because we are controlling a delay, which is a time-based thing. So time second, that's really good. Let's make a tag for this and call it milliseconds, which is fine. On our stereo standard delay, let us go to tap 1 on the control pins and tap into the delay there. And we can, of course, make that into milliseconds. Okay, so we've now hooked it up. Let's have a look at our custom controls here, though. We have a time knob of 1 second. The default range is 0 to 1, which means I'm going to have 1,000 milliseconds worth of increments in there for a 500 millisecond delay, which is a bit insane. We don't want that. So we are going to customize our range again, which is nice. We have a minimum of 0, but I'm going to make a maximum. This is going to sound a little strange, but 0.08 as the maximum. Now, in the interest of having something nice to look at, let's open this up. I want to just grab this milliseconds display, and I'm going to put it on top of the delay. You'll notice that it's there. I'm then going to turn it from a knob to a text field. Now we can actually display on top of our delay what milliseconds are in there. And we have the custom controls here. Let's, for the sake of display, I'm going to just pull this out on the design as well for the moment and make it a bit bigger so that we can see what's going on. I'm going to emulate. Now we have an emulator. Okay, and you'll notice that the delay has gone back to 0 milliseconds. It actually had a 5.33 milliseconds setting in there before from our previous mucking around, but now it has none. Let's move this dial and see what happens. You'll notice that our range of milliseconds is now in the usable area, and we can kind of, if we're careful and we make this knob big enough on our UCI, we can get into the decimal points of the milliseconds of the usable range. Now, I'm probably being extremely generous by allowing 80 milliseconds, to be honest. Most rooms that you will be in will have delays set around here, 40, 50 milliseconds at the most. So we can probably even tweak that down later, and we may end up tweaking that down a bit more later. But as you can see, we already have a more usable millisecond count, which is great. The other thing that I would like to do is take control of the stereo crossover, because that was also problematic. But we don't need to have a custom control for that. We can do that with another tool that we have actually used before, called the selector, which we bring out here. And the stereo crossover, let's go to the low band and the high frequency. It seems counterintuitive, but this is actually the crossover point. The high frequency on the low band can be used as the crossover point for the entire system. So as you change this, it changes the range that is being sent to the top boxes as well. So we've seen selected before. Let's make a tag here called low frequency, which is good. And in the stereo crossover, we will attach that control tag, low frequency. Great. Now with selector, as you know, it can be whatever you want it to be. So I am going to emulate. And I'm going to call this crossover 1. It doesn't matter what the label is, it's the value that counts, and I'm going to call it 120. Then I'm going to make crossover 2 here. Let's see. And I'm going to turn that into 90. Great. So let's have a look at the crossover. Here it is. It's currently at 90 Hertz. Let's hit the 120. It goes to 120. It goes to 90. Great. Now we have 2 buttons that we can put on our UCI later on that will enable the user to select from one of 2 points. By the way, while we're here, let's stop emulating for a second. And while we're starting to do things in a very pretty layout, let's go into the stereo crossover. Let's get this point here, here at least. Actually, you could choose either one, but this one is actually the one that we're dealing with, so let's use that. Let's put that on top here and turn it into a text field. Now we have the crossover point displaying on top of the crossover as well. You're starting to see how this works, aren't you? It's quite nice. We should probably do the same thing here with the stereo gain while we're at it. Let's do that. Put it on top. This is great. We're going to text field. Now we have the stereo gain of this being displayed. We could do this across the board. In fact, we might. Let's pick it up in the next video.